Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Sam. So yeah, I hope you guys can be able to cope up with me since it's been an afternoon. So some of you may be a bit tired from the previous talks, but I hope you guys will be able to come along with me because even though if my even though that my background is more on cybersecurity, cloud engineering, and so on and so forth, we'll be discussing more on the agri-tech side because, for context, this is our undergrad thesis by my partner, Miss Hart. And then today, I'm just going to spread my knowledge onto it so that you guys will be able to gain some insights into it. And then, yeah, you guys will be able to perhaps deploy it in your applications, create a agri-tech applications from it, and yeah, eventually you will gain any profit from it if your startup application works well. So before that, let me just introduce myself because yeah, it's better to know the speaker as well. Oh, so yeah, before that, let me just introduce first the contents that we'll be discussing for today. Uh, yeah, it consists of the following. First is to introduction to precision agriculture. No? So in this part, we'll be discussing more on about like what are the ways that agri-techs use so that they can have a precise cultivation of their yields or some sort of way to accurately predict the yield era or the yield period of particular crops, let's say rice or corn or whatever crops it is. No, so that is all the gist in precision agriculture, but we're going to discuss that later on. Next is the challenges in traditional algorithms based on our study. Like, what are the limitations of the existing algorithms that this algorithm that we're trying to propose has been solved. So mainly, based on our research, it revolves around CNN. No? So yeah, we'll discuss that later on. And then next is the introduction of our proposed algorithm, which is Mobile VIT V2 and 50 because that's why it has a 50 on it because it is very lightweight. Very capable to your low-end applications, which farmers with low-end devices can use. And then lastly, we'll be discussing an implementation walkthrough and how can you help guys though. So if you guys want to use our algorithm, we're going to give it to you later on. So yeah, let's proceed to the next part. Oh, I'm just gonna put it. Sorry. So let me just discuss first myself. About me, I'm Kinariel Rodrigo, currently fourth year computer science student. Yeah, I'm serving as a tech lead at AWS Cloud Clubs Haribon. So from there, we're teaching cloud services in AWS. And currently, I'm an intern of two companies from Tutorials Dojo and StratPoint Technologies. And lastly is I'm currently AWS Cloud Practitioner Certified and AI Practitioner Certified. So, okay, let me just discuss first my recent work. So this is just a bragging rights for me. But yeah, as part of my work in Tutorials Dojo, I've been tasked to create blogs, no, content creations such as ebooks, reviewers, and such, so that users can be able to have an insight on how to leverage cloud computing in application to a particular application. So, for example, recently I've developed a way on how to deploy DeepSeek model to Amazon Bedrock, and then yeah, security practices to AWS and strategies, and then lastly is using PartyRock. For example, let's say you want to create a Python compiler or Python, your very own leet code solver, no? So yeah, you can use PartyRock, a Gen AI application, so that you guys will be able to test if your Python skills is adequate enough for like coding interviews and such. No? So if it adheres to a particular good coding practices and so on and so forth. So yeah, and about me, I do a lot of public speaking because currently my number one weakness in the career of tech is communication. No? So now I'm pressuring myself to communicate in front of you guys because I want to hone or I want to defeat my number one weakness so that I can express myself and then I can discuss all the technical stuff that I can do so that I can help a lot of people. And one application to it is now discussing an agri-tech solution so that you guys can be able to leverage it and help our Filipino farmers. So yeah, so far, sorry, there's a lot, but this is just the last part. My biggest flex in AI, so that I'm a bit proud of myself in AI because of this. Because recently, my ebook, I have been co-authoring an ebook at Tutorials Dojo, and it has been deployed. And another thing, in my AI certified practitioner exam, I recently got a perfect score, which is really it's very rare to happen, but this is all my knowledge on AI, and then I will be sharing it all to you right away. So yeah, now let me apply all my knowledge dedicated to us Asians, no. So for you guys, you probably know Uncle Roger, but yeah, he's my number one idol when it comes to Asian stuff. So here we're now in Python APAC, so I guess you guys will be able to relate as well. So next is this is for the introduction part, no. So for now, let me ask you guys, who among of you likes to eat rice? No, let's say nasi goreng, fried rice, or biryani rice, or some sort. Kindly raise your hands. Steamed rice, yeah, it will do po. The garlic rice, yeah. Of course, every one of us, as Asians, no, we're proud to eat rice all along, no, every day. That some of us maybe eat rice on midnight, no, for midnight snack. So, yeah, it's pretty much common staple food for us Asians, no, not just for Filipinos here, but all around in Asia Pacific, mostly, yeah, rice. So now, let me just share this dilemma that I found. No, currently in the Philippines, so yeah, it was forecasted that in 2025, 4.2 million metric tons of rice shall be imported in other countries. No, so it's pretty much ironic because Philippines is very rich in cultivating rice crops, right? And for example, we have this rice Banawe terraces. We have a lot of rice fields in Bulacan and so on and so forth. However, the irony is we import or we try to like ask for other countries for rice imports, and it's pretty much like it's pretty sad because not just because not just because of the imports, no, like in other words, we're just trying to like interact with the foreigners, no, so that to have our very own staple food that in the first place we can already provide. So yeah, and another thing, this is a quote from GMA News. So if you don't know GMA, it's a media outlet here in the Philippines. So 2024 agricultural losses exceeded to 10 billion with rice among the hardest hit subsectors due to combination of factors including plant diseases. No, so try to remember this term, plant diseases. So we're going to play along with that word all along through my presentation. So yeah, now currently as an undergrad student, a fourth year undergrad student, I'm thinking like, how can I, as a computer science student, help our rice farmers in my country? No, so technically they're the sector that it's pretty much less likely to have an opportunity because of the rice imports, and then they don't have any chance, or the chances of getting a Philippine-based rice has been very small, no, because of the rice import. So now, how can I be, as a computer science student, help our fellow farmers? So one thing that I can think of is here. There's a thing called precision agriculture. So precision agriculture is a term, no, for farming management strategy that uses technology and data to improve efficiency and crop yields. So have you noticed that in Japan, there's no actual data to it because it's pretty much prominent in the news. Like Japan has a lot of technologies that they can use to to extract all the rice yields that they need on time. And yeah, they are leveraging a lot of robots, no, for example. And yeah, they're technically implementing a lot of solutions so that the rice yields is very much on time, because rice is very important to them, no? Like, yeah, I think all of the unlike all of the Asian countries, no, rice is the number one like producers as well, based on my knowledge. So here we have precision agriculture again to help us out, no. And as a computer science student, one common feasible application to it is a term called rice leaf disease image classification. Of course, there's a lot of solutions that we can implement. For example, IoTs, no, we can implement drones, we can implement like geospatial analysis to our rice leaves, rice yields or rice area, no. However, due to our limitations of just having our phones in our house, one thing that I can think of is by just leveraging this solution called rice leaf disease image classification, and it is commonly applied to our cell phones, no? Like, it's an application deployed to our cell phones. And one common application or model to it is the term convolutional neural networks. So in this part, we'll be delving deeper to the gritty and nitty side of like convolution of neural networks or deep learning. But I'm just going to discuss it in an overview so that you guys will be able to understand it as well. So yeah, you may be wondering, what is the fancy term called convolutional neural networks or CNN, no? So basically, in a gist, convolutional neural network is a deep learning architecture designed for processing data such as images, no? So the term here is processing images using convolutional neural networks to automatically and adaptively learn spatial hierarchies feature through local connectivity, weight sharing, and pooling operations. So all of those stuff, in a gist, it simply refers to a model being able to understand the particular class given in an input image, no? So for example, we have this picture of zebra, no? Zebra, and then the operation works by just scanning this pixels, no, through windows, and then from there, there are an output, no, a minimized output called feature maps that are created, like, and it is very continuous, no, until it reaches through a a pooling or fully connected layers, or just a small neural network architecture before creating predictions, no. So in a sense, sorry for if it's very technical, but it's in a gist, it's pretty much like an algorithm to identify an image in a pixel manner, no. So by identifying the objects in an image, you will be able to identify that it's a zebra. So as a number here, for example, the number one prominent number is zebra of 0.7. So that's all the summary of CNN. And then, yeah, throughout the years, it has been developed through a lot of architectures, improving how it works, making it compatible with our mobile applications, no? So there are a lot, no? So for example, for instance, we have this 5 convolutional and 2 dense layers, no? So it is an actual algorithm proposed in a paper. Another thing is VGG16, ResNet 50, MobileNet V2, and EfficientNet V0. So those are just the technical terms, but in short, those are just the variants that we develop throughout the years, no? However, yeah, okay, so before that, apologies. So let me just discuss first the traditional workflow on how it works, no? So, for example, we have this inexperienced or blind farmers, no? So primarily blind farmers. So what happened was, you don't have the capability to view the diseases, right? So what happens is, by just using your mobile phones, you guys will be able to use your cameras, no? For example, in this project, I just used my Realme phone, wherein using my camera, I tried to detect a particular disease. Like, I'm just going to scan it there, and then automatically, some initial diagnosis will be received. And then, using that insight that we develop, we can provide a preventive measure, such as adding fertilizers ahead of time before the disease has been spread. And then alongside with that, there are a lot of models that has been implemented throughout the years. So for example, the Rested 50 and so on and so forth. And then yeah, however, there is a limitation to that. Okay, so prior to that, sorry, there is a particular or one common studies that has been analyzed by a lot of researchers who are using like rice leaf disease research. No, primarily the most common one is the paddy doctor disease. No, try to search for that. And another thing is the rice leaf disease classification using CNN. So technically, we're trying to enhance this particular part for our thesis. So yeah, now we proceed to the next part. No, however, CNN, no, or the one that we proposed, the one we discussed earlier, has a limitation that we want to solve. So first foremost is yeah, technically it's just a same neural network that have been developed over the last decade. So the common problem that we experience is struggling to analyze distant feature patterns, no? Or another thing is computational inefficiency, or making your phone heated too much because of the memory consumption or the processors being fed up to the model itself, no? So technically, it's computationally inefficient, and then it is highly sensitive to lighting conditions. So let's say your leaf is pretty much darkened, and then automatically the application itself, it misclassifies a particular output. No? So we don't want that. Now, in 2016 to 2017, for an instance, thankfully, there has been an algorithm that is trying to solve this limitation, no? Limitation that are common in neural networks, which is transformer architecture. Here, it has a lot of, yeah, in a gist, this is just for language translation initially. And then, yeah, it led to the NLP models that we have today. So from there, transformer architecture in 2017, now we have vision transformer architecture. No? So by the name itself, vision transformer, it can incorporate like transformer leverage such as semantic adaptive, semantic understanding, or global context understanding in context of images in 2017. And then it has been upgraded to hybrid CNN vision transformers, and then lastly to mobile V2 that we're trying to propose today. So yeah, hence we decided to conduct a research to it. So it has been published in Scopus journal yeah, website. No? So try to scan this QR code if you like. And then here, we're trying to enhance a particular CNN algorithm using the mobile V2 that we're trying to propose here to address those limitations that we mentioned early on. Okay. Oh, sorry. Still scanning? Okay, so I'm just going to give the... Okay. Sorry. So go ahead if you guys wanna view our hard work, because yeah, due to it took me a lot of restless nights to develop this. So yeah. So that's all for that part. And then next is we're going to discuss mobile V2. So technically it's a hybrid CNN transformer architecture designed for lightweight mobile devices, no? So because transformer has a limitation as well, like too much computational analysis. However, it is pretty much efficient by attributing global context pooling. And then from there, mobile V2 solves that by making it lightweight. And then, yeah, added tweaks to the multi-headed self-attention mechanism. Okay, taking note. And then here's the gist of it. No? So technically, I'm not going to discuss that one by one because it's too boring. But in the gist of it, we're just trying to incorporate this algorithm, which is a manipulated multi-headed self-attention. No? It's a fancy term for transformer algorithm, and then making the computational complexity from quadratic to linear, no, which is pretty much efficient, no. Like by just using your mobile phones, no, it won't make your memory consume too much, and then yeah. Okay, still okay. So the architecture of the separable self-attention, so that's the term for the manipulated architecture or multi-headed architecture. So in a gist, the query is replaced by input, and it performs dot product notation in the input tokens, no, which reduces time complexity to quadratic to linear. So that is pretty much important when it comes to time complexity. When you're creating an algorithm, you make sure that it is efficient, no. You're not just making it just for the gist of just solving the problem. You must make sure that it is not just effective but efficient. So yeah, you can the mobile bit V2. Just so you know, it's just an API call from a Hugging Face website, no. So you guys can download this. Pardon me, it's Mobile Bit V2 100, but there's a smaller version of that, which is Mobile Bit V250, which is very lightweight. And then I think it's just 4 megabytes, unlike the original algorithm of CNN, which consists of 162 or 168 megabytes. So yeah, limiting it to a very small number of megabytes, making it more susceptible for adaptive implementation to our cell phones. So yeah. So what are the methods, no? So here, we implemented, or we tried to simulate like 5 convolutional 2-den. So this is just the algorithm that we're trying to enhance. And then here, we implemented Mobile Bit V250A. So it's just a fancy term for attributing the same data set that has been used on the baseline data set. And then lastly, we tried to implement a much more robust rice leaf disease dataset where it incorporates a lot of rice leaf diseases. So as you can see, here it has 4 rice leaf disease. Now it can accommodate 8 rice leaf diseases. And the results are very much, it's very much compelling because before that, here's the application itself. So it has been deployed on a PyTorch and theme library for the model, and it has been deployed to a PTH file in Onyx runtime. So the framework itself, try to remember this is Onyx runtime because this is the framework that has been working so far, wherein the model hasn't been depleted after deployment, no? Because yeah, when you're working in MLOps, the model once deployed, the accuracy level is pretty much depleting or pretty much reduced. So now I just analyzed, or I just realized that this framework is very helpful for deployment as well, since the accuracy is pretty much high. So here in the images, there are the ground truth image, or the true label, true images, and then the labels is pretty much correct. So yeah, what are the results, no? So here's the 5 convolutional and 2-dens. So this is just the baseline CNN model results. So the F1 score is 44%, so it's pretty much low, right? So after implementing the Mobile Bit V2 architecture, the architecture itself doesn't have any pre-trained weights. It has been improved from 44 F1 score to 93. No, 93 accuracy score, no. So it's pretty much high. So as you can see, the enhancement has been it's pretty much significant, no. So it means that if you try to detect a particular rice leaf disease using your mobile phones, 93% of it has a higher chance to be correct. So yeah. And then another thing, here we also try to implement it as we try to implement it in our mobile phones. We also try to detect the number of parameters, which are the settings that justifies that the mobile application or the mobile model itself is very suitable to the model that to the mobile application that we're trying to implement. So yeah, basically in a gist, so the overall parameters is from 14.7 million parameters, it has been reduced to 1.1 million parameters. So it's very much low, no? So, and then the FPS, no, or the frames per second, while the Mobile Bit V2 is pretty much fast, still the results is pretty much significant in the Mobile Bit V2 model itself, no? So again, it has been implemented in just a simple API call. And then, yeah, lastly, we tried to perform a comparative analysis of hybrid CNN to other hybrid CNN plus transformer architecture. And ours Fortunately, ours is pretty much significant. No, we tried to outperform other papers as well from 2021 and so on. And then, yeah, we received a 1.1 million parameters only. And then the flops G, or the lower the flops G is, the more memory that it can be conserved when deployed to our model. And then, deployed to our mobile device. And then lastly, the FPS is still 44. And again, 99.6 top 1 accuracy. So for every for every inference that you will do, 99.6% of it has a chance that it is correct. So yeah. And then lastly, you can access it here, the notebook itself. So you won't, yeah, I'm trying to save you guys from the hard stuff, no? So this is just the Python notebook that I use in training the model itself. So feel free to scan it here and then access it in your own end. So for the last part is, here's the Onyx runtime model. And then here's the application itself. So for every 3 labels, no, so we considered 3 labels here so that we can have like analyze, or rather we can analyze the top three labels that is attributed to a particular rice leaf disease. And the number 1 here is the correct the correct label, no. So yeah, upon scanning, the labels here is pretty much correct, like bacterial leaf blight, leaf blast, and rice hispa disease. So yeah, what are the key takeaways? No, precision agriculture is the art of maximizing the yield of minimal impact, a symphony of technology and ecology. So we have this technology now, and you guys will be able to leverage it for a better yields. No, so okay. Key takeaways: precision agriculture is a method for efficient rice yields, while CNN algorithm are on the rise. Try to leverage, guys, the hybrid CNN and transformer architectures. No, do not rely on CNN itself for your thesis, for example. And then, yeah, there is a need for rice leaf disease dataset. No, this is our number 1 limitation. Like, we have to validate it to our biology professor, but yeah, hopefully in the future, our government will provide us a better rice leaf disease dataset for implementation. And then, lastly, when it focuses on mobile phones, it can be implemented through IoTs, no? Like, since I coined it as a lightweight model, so you guys will be able to implement it on your sensors, no, or drones, or some sort of similar camera-based IoT. So yeah, I guess that's all. If you guys want to connect with me in LinkedIn, feel free to do so. So just scan the QR code for your reference. So I guess that's all. I'm Kane Rodrigo, and yeah, nice meeting you all.